Greetings, loyalists and heretics. Welcome to Iron and Ceramite, where we once again enter the warp without an astropath.
Hello guys, thank you for joining us here on Iron and Ceramite for our 3k battle rep, our first 3k battle rep. I'm joined today by John here, who's going to be playing his
Death Guard, reigning champions.
And myself, Tommy. Obviously I'm going to be playing my Imperial Fists, so it should be very interesting. Feeling confident?
Not really, no.
You say that every time, but...
yeah. So, on screen, I'm undefeated, but my last couple of games...
At the moment.
My last couple of games haven't gone very well. So I'm coming in with a bit of PTSD after the last game I had with Dave's Templars. If you've watched the podcast, you probably know what I'm talking about. But otherwise, I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried. We're doing this. We've got obviously Shane, who's also a member of Iron and Ceramite. He's got a, what's it called, Total War pack or something like that. The pack of cards that picks your deployment. It picks a twist for you, and obviously like the main mission. So the deployment on this one is quite close. It's 18 inches in the middle. We'll go through the table later anyway. It's a bit of a strange deployment, and there's only one objective as well, which can move after every round depending on your roll off. We have to roll off at every battle round, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. How do you think it'll work out for you with your melee? We'll
find out, because bar a couple of spare Marines and Pox Walkers and one or two characters, I've pretty much bought everything that I own Death Guard wise. So if I lose, I might start a new army. We'll see. How about you?
I'm worried. I'm not going to lie. I am worried because I've won my last 5 games with the Imperial Fists, and I'm feeling really confident and cocky with playing like regular games with the sort of 6 objectives and stuff like that, 5, 6 objectives, whatever. And I sort of know that if I get in the right positions, then I can sort of hold you off and just about get what points I need to win, even if I get tabled.
Yeah.
But with this one, it's a different story altogether. It's going to be down to luck a little bit for who wins the roll-offs to see where the objective point goes. But if you get close to it, I've got to then take it off of you.
Yeah.
And I don't have much to do that. I've got some really strong units in melee, but most of it is bolters, as you'd imagine, for Imperial Fists. But we'll see how it goes.
I did a bit of emergency painting over the last couple of days. So
I haven't noticed at all. No.
So I've got my Death Shroud Terminators, my Hull Brute, a bit of scenery already. So I bought some stuff to sort of mix in with the Imperial Mag, but I've thrown that to the one side and just painted Death Guard just so I could actually play this game. I'm looking forward to it though. We'll see how it goes. So
absolutely, just touch on that. I've also painted my army, but not thoroughly, as you'll see. So I've got a few models that are fully painted, but at least I got them all yellow. Yeah. They're all yellow now, so you know that they're supposed to be fists and not white scars.
That's annoying, because that's 10 easy points that I could have had.
So we don't play that at the moment because I would sulk otherwise, but we will start playing that once I've got my army up and running. Of course we will.
Yeah,
if that ever happens.
Cool. So I think what we'll do is we'll prepare the table, get our armies on parade, and in the meantime we'll hand over to Shane, who's going to introduce today's mission.
Had to put that in.
So ahead of the onslaught battle that John and Tommy will shortly be engaging on, I've been asked to select them randomly, or select randomly their mission using the open war deck. So as ever, I've shuffled up the objective, the deployment, and the twist cards of the deck so that we can see what we're going to get. And this will be the battle that will be taking place. So first up, the objective is objective drop. This is a good one for those of you that have that played it before. But place an objective marker in the center of the battlefield. At the start of each battle round, the players roll off. The winner can move the objective marker 2d6. What's interesting about this one is starting from the 3rd battle round, that's when you start scoring your victory points, and you score them if you control the objective marker at the end of your command phase. And in addition, you score 2 victory points if you control the objective marker at the end of the battle. Player with the most victory points at the end of the battle is the winner. The thing to note here as well is that when you roll off at the start of each battle round, you can move it up to 2d6 inches. That can be any direction. closer to your lines if need be, but it is a choice. You can move it. You also do not need to. So should you already have the objective or you don't want to move it, you don't need to. So it's quite an interesting objective, means that the game will always move on. So then we look over to the deployment. What's the deployment going to look like in this instance? So for this battle, quite a nice deployment, quite an even one. So we have two arrow-shaped deployment zones, 12 inches wide at their equal point at the deployment zone, and 9 inches either way from the center of the battlefield from the tip. So 18 inches total. So there is always the possibility of first round charges if players move aggressively, but also plenty of room to keep things in the back line should you be needed to. And you'll be deploying on the thinner table edges, so that again there's distance there and might play into anyone that's got a bit of long range firepower. Okay, what's the twist? So the twist is Blinding Sun. Okay, plays against the shooting army, but will be interesting. So a lot of upkeep to keep in mind for this one. At the start of the first battle round, one player randomly selects one battlefield edge to determine the sun's battlefield edge. So it's like the sun is coming up from one of the edges. And at the start of the third battle round, one player randomly selects one battlefield edge adjacent to the sun's battlefield edge. That battlefield edge is now the sun's battlefield edge. So that's the sun moving around the battlefield as the day progresses. You subtract 1 from hit rolls for ranged attacks that target units that are closer to the sun's battlefield edge than the firing model is. So what that basically means is if your units are on the same side as the blinding sun on the sun's tabletop edge, anyone being shot by the opponent looking into that sun, is going to face a -1 to hit for their rolls. So quite an interesting twist there. So there we have it. So we have the objective drop, which is going to be interesting given the size of the battlefield, the deployment, and then the twist.
So here is my 3,000 points of the Death Guard. Excuse my notes on the table, but there's a lot to remember and I won't be able to do it without looking at them. So we've got two separate play companies. We've got a patrol of Inexorable and we've got a battalion of the Wretched. So without further ado, let's zoom in and go through the patrol. So leading my patrol is a Lord Felfius. However, that's just the model. For the purposes of today, he's a Lord of Contagion. So he is obviously got the lovely, disgustingly resilient, as does almost everything. Contagions of Nurgle, which we'll be getting in and amongst that. His Terminator armor gives him that 4-up save. And he is obviously a Lord of the Death Guard, which will give us a buff. Anybody that gets close enough gets to re-roll their hits of 1. I have given him Ferric Blight. So if the enemy get into contagion range, any attacks from friendly Inexorable units will add 1 to their AP. And in his hand is the Plague Skull of Glorfilla. Once per battle, I can use this lovely grenade weapon, get close enough to the enemy, roll some D6s, and then dish out some mortal wounds. Hopefully we'll get that in. And then looking at the deadly pathogens, we've given his Plague Reaper Acidic Malady, which is another 1 to his AP. He's not my Warlord, but he will be leading the Blight Lord Terminators. So there's a squad of 7 in total. My champion with his Bubotic Axe and Combi Plasma. His axe has also been given a pathogen, which is the Unstable Sickness. So hopefully there will be just that little bit extra deadly. I then have a couple of Bale Swords in there, a few axes, good old Flail of Corruption, which is a must take. And then we've got a Blight Launcher, Combi Bolter, a Plague Spewer, a Combi Flamer, and a Combi Melter. We need to get them up the battlefield and doing some damage. And they will hopefully be backing up this squad of 10 Plague Marines, which will be taking a ride in my Chaos Rhino, equipped with a Havoc Launcher and the Marine tucked in there with his combi bolter. So my Plague champion, he has a demonic Plague blade, which has been upgraded to Plague bringer, which just dishes out that extra damage, and his plasma pistol as well. With him, the 9 Marines. We've got 4 guys with bolt guns. We've got a Blight launcher, a Plague spewer, a flail, a cleaver, and a mace and axe guy, which Vectors of Death gives him an extra attack, which is handy. So that's the first detachment, and then we move over to the Wretched. So the Wretched, I've got obviously some psycho activity going on. My Warlord, the Malignant Plaguecaster. Again, he is been upgraded with 7-fold blessings, so that's really handy when I look at the notes and tell you what that actually means. So he gets an additional psycho power, which is helpful. So his psychic powers, obviously he's going to get Smite. He's got Plague Wind, Putrescent Vitality, and Curse of the Leper. He has had his Pestilential Fallout upgraded to Demon's Favour. So when he passes a psychic test, the closest enemy within 6 inches will suffer a mortal wound. But on a 7+, it is the closest enemy within 12 inches will suffer D3 mortal wounds. He has been given the Warlord trait, Revoltingly Resilient. Because he doesn't come with an invulnerable save, if he does lose a wound on a 5+, I can save it. He's got his bolt pistol and corrupted staff. So hopefully he will be very well assisted by the Noxious Blightbringer, who obviously adds 1 to movement of anybody that's close enough, and also takes off 1 from the psychic test to make those a little bit easier. Backing him up, as you can see in the background, is my Demon Prince. Again, he's got his 5+ save. He's a Lord of the Death Guard. He has pretty much everybody has contagion range on my table, except for the cultists, but they're just here to die for Nurgle. So he's got his Hellforged sword and his Malfic talons. His contagion disciplines, obviously Smite and the Gift of Contagion. The Warlord trait, we've given him Eater Plague from the Wretched abilities. So if we get into contagion range with him, any friendly Wretched attack on enemies, an unmodified hit of 6 will be an auto wound. And I've also given him the Suppurating Plate, save characteristic of 2, down from a 3, which is nice. And if he loses a wound, the model that model that wounded him on a 2+ suffers a mortal wound. So although, yep, you can kill him, it should cost you if I'm lucky. And then we come on to the first new model of this army. Another Lord of the Death Guard, my Lord of Virulence, with his Plague Claw and Twin Plague Spewer. I've spent another CP on him to give him the Warlord trait of Arch Contaminator. So if he gets within 6 inches at the end of my movement phase to an enemy unit, roll a d6, and on a 4+ we get a mortal wound. So obviously, Disease Terminator armor, 4+ invuln, Lord of the Death Guard. He's a Master of Destruction. So friendly units within 6 inches, any ranged attacks of their plague weapons on an unmodified hit roll of 6 is +1 to my AP. So again, another good model, but never used before, so it'll be interesting. Another unused unit, brand new, finished painting them today, the Death Shroud Terminators. Again, they have their Disease Terminator armor. We've got 3 of them, 1 champion and 2 regular dudes. So the only thing they have extra is the Bodyguard ability. So if they're with a friendly character within 3 inches, if that character has less than 9 wounds as a characteristic, that character cannot be targeted. I've spent the extra points to give the champion the Chimes of Contagion. So it's basically an extra 3 inches to any of their abilities. They're all equipped with Man Reapers and Plague Spurt Gauntlets. and the champion has an extra gauntlet. So it just costs a little bit more, but hopefully will be well worth it. Another new model, an elite, the Hell Brute. He has monstrous resilience rather than disgusting resilience, so that just gives him a 5-up save anyway. No, ignore me. So that is again -1 to damage, so it's exactly the same as disgustingly resilient. Frenzy, under 7 wounds. Any rerolls, I can reroll wound rolls of 1. He also explodes. He is equipped with a Hellbrute hammer and a Hellbrute plasma cannon. Again, we're looking forward to seeing how this guy gets on the battlefield. Then we have the Tallyman. Basically, he's here to try and farm some CP for me. On a 7 during my command phase, 2d6 on a 7, I'll get a CP back, and he can also calculate for friendly units once per turn, which will help me with my hit rolls. So hopefully this all pans out. He's obviously standing with his buddy, the Plague Surgeon. So at the end of my movement phase, anyone within 3 inches, I can pick one of those models and regain up to D3 wounds. And then if he's close enough during the combat phases, anything within 3 inches, if they lose a wound on a D6, he can heal them and not lose the wound. We've obviously covered the noxious Blightbringer. I'm just going through the list, that's why I've come back to him. So then we've got another squad of Plague Marines over here. These guys will be going on foot. There's no vehicle to transport them. So we've got the champion. He's got his bolt pistol and regular demonic plague blade. He's got 6 Marines with him, 1 with a blight launcher, 4 with bolt guns, and then 1 sigil. So any unmodified hits of 6 will be an auto wound for those. So that's handy. And like I said, we've got the cultists over here, nothing special. A couple of auto guns and a couple of auto pistols with brutal assault weapons. And then everybody's favourite, the Pox Walkers. We've got a squad of 16 here, and we've got a squad of 19 there. We all love Pox Walkers, well I do anyway, and I hope the others hate them, to be honest. So if they do kill a unit during the fight phase, then I can always bring a Pox Walker back. They obviously auto-pass morale tests, and then because they're an Undying Horde, if they're supposed to lose a wound, I can roll a 6. If I get that 6, then he survives. So that's always nice. Excuse me. Right, remember to edit that out. Okay. So moving on over here, we've got 1 unit of 3 Blight Haulers. We are tried and tested, and generally I always get on with them. I don't normally run them as 1 unit, but I had to for the purpose of this list. I love them. Putrid Explosion, so if they do get killed on a 4-up, they'll explode. They won't damage any Nurgly units, only any Imperial Fists that are too close. They've got 5-up Invuln and Foul Stench, so if they get into melee, it takes 1 off the hit of the enemy. So hopefully they'll be hard to shift. Then I have in the background there, we've got 2 Bloat Drones, both equipped with their Plague Splitters. They've got the 5-up Invuln and the Putrid Explosion. Get them up the battlefield, hopefully dishing out plenty of damage. And then here, sat in the background, hopefully in a nice bit of cover, my Plague Burst Crawler. Again, he's got his demonic 5-up Invuln save. However, when he explodes, it is D3 wounds. On a 6+, he'll explode. And then anything within 6 inches suffers D3 mortal wounds. And that's including my units. So I'm not going to be, hopefully, getting too close to him. And then we've got a bit of scenery. It comes under the Wretched Plague Company. However, it obviously isn't going to be moving too far. We have the Miasmic Magnifier. Nice bit of scenery. I can put it up during the setup phase. It can go up on the battlefield, anything outside of 12 inches of Tom's lines. and then we've got the Pox Furnace, which can go up with it to be a bit obscuring. This thing kicks out the contagion range at full strength from round 1, which is very helpful. It's quite hard to kill. It's got quite a good wound rate. And then when it does explode, again, 4+, and any enemy within 6 inches will suffer D3 mortal wounds. And then it acts as good infantry cover for my Plague Marines. Yeah, and it does even attack. It has a Noxious Stink, which is 6-inch, heavy, 2d6, auto hit. So we might get lucky with it and chip some wounds off any Marines that are unlucky enough to stumble their way through. So that is my army. We'll hand over to Tom and we'll go through his Imperial Fists. Hopefully I'm not going to just get blown off the table in the first couple of rounds, and we can get into combat and spread Nurgle's wonderful gifts.
Hello guys, and as you can see, this is my Imperial Fists 3000 points. They're a little bit multicoloured at the moment. It's a bit of a trial and error in painting these guys, but without further ado, I shall go through my models as I have them in the list that I've got for the game. So you'll have to bear with me because I do like to ramble occasionally. So first of all is my Librarian in Phobos armour, as you can see there. One of my models that isn't painted. One of my many models that isn't painted. So he has his psychic powers, hallucination, mind raid, and tenebrous curse, which are 3 powers that I haven't used before. And he has also got a relic, which is the artificer armour, and that is, of course, is a CP. And that's all I've got on him. But it'll be interesting to use this guy. I think I'm going to need him. I've put him up to Chief Librarian as well, so he can deny 2 psychic attacks by John, because obviously he's got a few psychers in his army. So moving on from my Chief Librarian, I have my Warlord, which is this guy here, fully painted, one of my few models that is. He is obviously my chaplain on the bike, Primaris chaplain on a bike, and he is the Warlord, as I say, for the game. He's also got Master of Sanctity, which obviously he deserves. His Warlord traits, I've given him 2 using Sentinel of Terror, which is indomitable even, and the Imperium's Sword. So he has got a fair bit of toughness about him, and also he can get in there and hit pretty hard, because he's also got the Benediction of Fury as his relic. So that is going to put his melee weapon up there with the best of them. Moving on after that, you have the Primaris Tech Marine now. He's also been upgraded to Master of the Forge, which is obviously pretty much what I'm doing throughout my all of my characters, upgrading them to wherever they can be. So he's also got the Warden of the Ancients trait with him that I've given him for a CP. So he can pretty much, I think he gives the Dreadnought an extra strength and an extra attack. So if he's within 3 inches, I do believe. So that could be devastating in the right circumstances. What else have I given him? No, that's it for him. So moving on, then I have Torgaradon, the one and only. I do believe he's the 3rd company captain for the Imperial Fists. Another one that's fully painted. Thank God for that. I've got more than one. And yeah, he's just himself as he is. He's already got some decent buffs that I'm ready to use in certain ways. Hopefully you'll find out, and hopefully they'll actually work. So moving on from Torgaradon, you have my troops. So firstly, I will move over to these guys here at the front. I know they all look similar because they're all just painted yellow at the moment, but as if there's 10 there, and they are my 10 heavy intercessors. So they're going to be split into 2 squads. They're their own. They're not going to be combat squadded. They're just going to be in 2 squads. So I've got Hellstorm bolt rifles on everyone. All 10 of them have got Hellstorm bolt rifles. So I've got a lot of fire output. Not very, not much AP on them, but a lot of shots will be coming John's way. Moving on from the heavy intercessors, you will have, where are they? If I can locate them amongst this tide of yellow, there we go. My infiltrator squad. So nothing special on these guys other than the Helix Gauntlet, which means every time damage comes in for the first time against them in a turn, then that damage is null and void. So that's pretty decent for, I think it's 10 points. Moving on to this is a long list of intercessors basically. So I've gone all out with the intercessors on this occasion, as you can see, and I have 20 of them. Yeah, 20 of them, all got auto bolt rifles. So there's, again, another sea of bolt rounds coming towards John. Hopefully going to use my exploding sixes as my chapter tactic to ruffle his feathers a little bit. And all of my sergeants for them, so that's 4 sergeants, have power swords. In this, they have chain swords, but they have been changed to power swords because I had a few points left over. So after that, I move on to my elites. And I shall start with my Blade Guard veterans. So they look a bit random because I have 3 painted and 3 unpainted, or 3 just yellow. But these guys are my mainstay in melee, always have been. Obviously, they've got the 4-up invuln on their storm shields, which I love because it can soak up quite a lot of incoming fire. So they're very important for this game. And also, riding with them today will be my Judicia, as you can see there. Bloodied up sword already. Who knows who he's been butchering, some poor sod. But he will be going with my Blade Guard wherever they go, hopefully to use the abilities he has that I've also not really used too much before. He has Champion of Humanity, so if he comes into contact with any of John's characters, he'd give them a run for their money. He also has the Relic Digital Weapons, which can dish out 1 mortal wound every time if it hits. So you don't even have to roll for a wound with that. Moving on to my Primaris Apothecary there, who's painted about 70%. So he will be hopefully running in the middle of most of my troops, just to give them the buffs that he gives. Obviously, he's quite an important character and he can bring people back from the dead once per round with a stratagem, which I hopefully will be using to my advantage. He also has a relic. He has the Auric Aquila, so he's got 4-up invuln save. And another thing as well, there's another little bit to that, but I'll get into that during the game if it happens. And he's also got a Warlord trait, which is Rites of War. So within 6 inches of him, units that aren't normally OBSEC will be OBSEC, as long as they're within the aura of the Apothecary there. Another unit I have here in my elites, I should say unit, it's a, as you can see, Redemptor Dreadnought with the Gatling cannon there, Icarus rocket pod and the other little Gatling cannon underneath. Absolutely deadly figure, this one, if I can get him in, especially coupled up with the Tech Marine there. Hopefully they'll be a deadly duo together. And he really is going to be heading up my melee with the Blade Guard. After them, there's not really a lot I've got other than my Warlord and obviously Torgaradon. So moving on, Reaver Squad. First time I've used them. Now these look really random because there's one painted in a completely different yellow at the front, but I will sort that out eventually. So these guys, I'm not really sure how to use these if I'm honest, but I thought I'd give them a go and try and work some sort of magic with them to put John off maybe with their... They can deploy pretty much wherever they want on the map, 9 inches away from his deployment zone, I think. So that'll be interesting. I'm not sure how I'll use them, but we'll see how I go. Onto the fast attack. So these guys up here, my Inceptors, as you can see, these 3 have got I believe I gave them a relic. Let me just check on that. Yep, they have got the Armor Indomitus, the Sergeant has, so he can take all the damage through him, obviously, until he's dead, and then the other 2 are pretty much buggered after that, but we'll see how they get along. They've all got the bolt weapons there because obviously it makes sense if you're an Imperial Fist army to have that for the exploding sixes and everything else that goes with it. And after that, we have my little Invader ATV squad. It's only an 85-point model, so I really like this model, and that's with the multi-melter on the front there. They've also got, I think, their twin bolt rifles on the front. So it's not a bad little unit for the money, for the points rather. So I will be looking forward to getting that up close properly and giving John what for with that melter there, even though he has got about 17 of his own. And then after him, my last unit in the fast attack is this guy here. I really like this one, I used it before. This is the Storm Speeder Thunderstrike. Some very powerful weapons on it. Obviously a massive movement range, but obviously it's not much to save it if it gets hit with deadly firepower, so I have to really be mindful of where I keep this on the board and try and use it to just sneak in and out when I can and take out some of his bigger units, some of his armoured units. And then on to heavy support. So my Devastator Marine squad, which is just down here, as you can see. Yes, they're just plain yellow like most of the others. But I've got Grav Cannon now, Heavy Bolter, Las Cannon and Missile Launcher. Sergeant has, I think it's a Plasma Combo even, and a Lightning Claw. So it'd be interesting to use them. I've never used them before, and they are the only firstborn in this 3K army. So representing for the old style crew there. After them, we go over to my Eliminators, which are freshly painted yellow. They used to be red from a Blood Angels army, but they've sort of swapped sides for now. I think they'll stay with this lot as well because they've got bolt weapons, which helps. So it would be interesting to use these guys. I really like them. 75 points for 3 snipers. Can't go wrong, really. Got a lot of decent little abilities to them as well if you look through what they've got on their data sheets. And then after that, this is probably my most, or usually my most important unit, my Eradicators. 6 of them, all got assault weapons, so they're just plain melter rifles. So I can move, advance, and still shoot. And potentially, if I decide to go that way, Torgaradon here can buff them down to a ballistic skill of 2, which can be quite deadly with the strength of the weapon, especially in the first round. Obviously, where I get an extra 1 to my damage of heavy weapons that are over 7 strength. So we'll see how that goes, but you don't normally get that close in round 1. But fingers crossed I will, and we'll have a tremendous game. So that is my 3k points. Sorry for the rambling, but we got through it in the end. And now we'll go over to the deployment and all that good stuff.
Okay, so before the game can begin, we've got a couple of things to roll off for. Firstly, we're going to roll off to see who gets to go first, who's going to get their first turn. Then we're going to roll off for which side the sun is going to be rising. And then thirdly, we're going to roll off to find out who gets to pick where the first objective marker goes. So first roll off, we will have first turn. So when you're ready, Tom.
3. Ooh,
6.
So you can choose.
I will take first turn, I think.
Cool, first turn to you. And
So-
now we'll roll off for the sun.
Yep.
For roll.
Right, re-roll. Oh, it's you, Tom.
I'll have to do it on my side then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Which is the
sucks
normal
for
thing
me.
to do.
Yep. And then the third roll off will be for where the objective marker will go.
Who gets to roll? Who gets to move it? Oh, so John gets
so
to
I
move
get
it
to
up
move
to 2d6.
So I've had a decent go here. So can I borrow your dice and I'll decide how far that's going to go. So 11 inches.
If you want.
9 inches. We'll do a bit of maths there.
I can't see your dice there. Yeah, cool. Right.
Right, so that's it. I'm happy with that.
Very happy. First turn and knowledge, and already within 18 inches of me. So
Yeah.
from the deployment.
Fantastic. So
Not good. Not good.
you will rejoin us to my first turn, I believe. Yeah. So see you in a second. Okay, so that's deployment. As you can see, my Death Guard are set up in a nice arrowhead formation, ready to go. Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of ground to cover to get towards these Imperial Fists. I think advantage of going first is I might be able to cover some ground. But there's a lot of firepower looking back at me. Yeah, we need to get up there. I mean, the advantage is I've moved the objective marker behind some cover, so hopefully I can at least get in and hold that to get the point later on. Other than that, everything's on the table except for my Blight Lord Terminators and the Lord of Contagion, and the Lord of Virulence and the Death Shroud are in the Teleportarium, and then there's obviously 10 Marines sat waiting to get out of the Rhino. So yeah, we just need to cover this ground, move up. Unfortunately, we're moving into the sun, which is standing behind Tom, so that doesn't help me either. But we'll see how we go later on. Tom, how about you? How are you feeling so far?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I've sort of bodged my way around that. I didn't really know how to set up for this because it's a deployment obviously we haven't used before, going with the war pack that Shane set up for us. So I've done what I think is right. I've got most of my things in either obscuring cover or light cover. And I'm just really hoping that John rolls poorly and that will save me. But fingers crossed, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, let's get to Death Guard, turn 1.
So you join us at the end of John's turn 1. Obviously he won the roll off and he decided to go first. So John, how did that go in your opinion?
Well, not well at all, really. But I mean, if you look at the board, Tom's placement was great for cover, I have to move up. Like I said before, the diamond or the triangle formation didn't really help me because I've had to now expand everything out. And Tom's so in cover that I really haven't had much luck. Plus I'm firing into the sun, which actually is horrendous to deal with. But shooting wise, we have one casualty after all that. So we'll go through. We advanced the cultists, pointless. Advanced the Pox Walkers into some cover. Moved up the bloat drones. They're too far away to shoot. We moved up the Rhino. Havoc Blaster went off. Did nothing. Hellbrute fired his plasma cannon. He did nothing, but he did take a mortal wound because he rolled a 1, which isn't terrible because if he does get into combat, now that he's lost that wound, I can now use his frenzy ability if he's going to survive that long. My main guys, they've all moved up. The only thing of note here is the Tallyman failed to give me that extra CP, but the what's he called?
Malignant something.
Plaguecaster. So we went straight into Perils of the Warp. So I've re-rolled that to get Putrescent Vitality off, just to help out the Plague Marines, to give them a little bit extra buff. So that's 1 CP gone already. I spent a CP actually on the Hellbrute to help improve him, but that didn't work. So that's annoying. The Plague Burst Mortar went off. Tom has the Helix Gauntlet, which basically saved one of his guys from getting killed. Frustrating. The 3 Blight Haulers didn't do anything. Demon Prince has moved up. Hopefully he's not going to get wiped out. And the Pox Walkers are in cover there. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it really. Nothing to report. I've got some units obviously in reserve. Hopefully I can survive this round and not get completely cleaned off. And we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it was never going to be the best shooting round for myself. But what are you thinking now, Tom, coming into your first term? You must be laughing.
I'm happy that I didn't get taken out, basically. I'm quite pleased with my placement. I wasn't too sure at the beginning, but it seems to have worked out quite well. To be fair to John, obviously with the sun thing going on, so he's -1 to his hits, which didn't affect things too much, but a few, he could have killed another 1 or 2 of my troops. But no, very happy with that, and looking forward to my turn and hoping I don't roll like John, because to be fair, I did have some great saves, and yeah, it's a little bit of poor rolling. For the first time I've ever played him, this has happened so far, so I'm happy. Yeah. But we'll see if I eat my words in my first turn.
Yeah, on to it.
So we come back at the end of the first model's firing phase. This first model I've shot with so far, which is the Storm Speeder Thunderstrike. His first weapon, everything was targeted onto John's Hellbrute. So his first weapon was the Storm Fury missile, which pretty much did nothing, 1 wound. Then my Thunderstrike Last Talon struck and done an 11 damage in total. So John is going to roll to see, well, it's obviously a dead unit, so he's going to roll to see if it explodes around all of these guys.
The good thing is, the bad thing is, on a 6+ explodes, and any unit within 3 inches will get 1 mortal wound. The good thing is, that's just the Rhino. So let's hope we don't roll a 6. Oh, so it explodes.
Oh dear. Sorry, John.
And my Rhino's going to take a mortal wound. It could be worse. But,
sorry, John.
The ceremonial exploding of the Hellbrute. His first time out, he got 1 damage out, which was saved, and he died.
As I said off camera, I am truly sorry, because I did want to face that with my Redemptor, but it's the way things go, and hopefully John will get some more luck in the next phase.
Yeah. Okay, looking at the smug face there, we're at the end of the Imperial Fists' first turn. I would say that it's average in a way, because there were some mistakes made, weren't there, Tom?
Yeah.
But also some good results. So I'll hand it off to you. Explain what's happened, mate.
So I moved everything up. I needed to get into firing range. So I advanced with most of my units coming across here. I didn't advance and move with my little vehicle there. There wasn't
ATV.
ATV. There wasn't any point because it wouldn't have got in range and it would have left it open. I moved up with my Storm Speeder so I could get in range of his Hellbrute. I pretty much moved everyone else except these guys here. My Eliminators, which stayed up there for the cover, and everything else moved forward. Not everything advanced, just the troops advanced. Devastators got up to the roof here so that they can get a bit of cover and fire off. Dreadnought moved forward, obviously didn't advance, so there's no penalties to his shooting, and that was my movement. I completely forgot my psychic phase, which really pisses me off because my model was hidden down here and I just didn't notice him. And I forgot my chaplain reciting his litanies too, so because he's hidden behind there. So that was a couple of mistakes on my behalf, but it started off in the shooting phase really well.
Yeah.
As you can see over here, I took out John's Hellbrute with some explosive firepower from the Storm Speeder Thunderstrike, and then with my Eradicators, buffed down to 2 ballistic skill by Torgaradon. I put everything they had pretty much into John's miasmic malignifier. Is that correct?
I can't pronounce it either, mate.
Something like that. And that literally just took that thing out and that was no more. So at that point I was thinking, well, I'm a couple of units into this here and I'm taking them apart. Then the Dreadnought had got a couple of wounds off of some Plague Marines and a couple of wounds off of the, what are these things, John?
The Mephitic Blight Haulers.
A couple of wounds off of them. But really, he bombed big time. He didn't. I got a lot of poor rolling, and that's with him being buffed down to 2 as well by the Tech Marine. So I'm not happy at all with that. Devastators failed miserably, mostly because John done a little bit of a master strike, you could say, with his putrescent vitality in his psychic phase, so that the troops here, the Plague Marines, had a toughness of 6.
Yeah.
So a lot of my less tough weapons couldn't really harm them, didn't do a lot of damage. But all in all, I got the best of round 1, points-wise, taken off of the board. But John's got a massive turn here now. He's got all of his Terminators off the table. There's a lot of open space, and I think this is where it's going to get quite tasty.
Yeah. And now what we need to do, we're going into round 2. We need to pick up another objective, pop it in the middle, and then we'll roll off to see who gets to move it. So join us over at the dice tray short. So just to clarify, we're not adding another objective. That's my mistake. We're fighting over moving that objective. So we're going to roll off and see who gets to move it. So when you're ready, Tom.
Go for it. I want to see what you get first. Oh,
6.
come on. Come on.
We'll take that all day long.
2 in a row.
So I get to move that 2d6 now. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So let's see. Where's it going? 6 inches. Right, we'll have that. So let's move it. And then we'll be right back for turn 2.
Look at the smug voice. So guys, you rejoin us at the end of John's shooting round. We're not going to say anything about that just yet. We're going to recap after his full turn. But we're at quite a pivotal moment, really, because he chipped away at my Torgaradon model, as you can see. Got him down to 3 wounds. And now he's Terminators there, his Blight Lord Terminators and his Lord Felthius are going to attempt to charge these guys, which are basically my most important unit and probably my most important HQ. Yeah. So John, what do you need, obviously?
We need a 9 to get into old Torgaradon, so we will declare for...
Are you going to declare a charge on both or not? So you can get into, so you can have a charge on the Eradicators as well?
No, because then I have to go that extra inch.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to stick with the 9 inches, and we're going to go with the Terminators into Torgaradon first.
Okay, cool. So 9 inches, 9 on the dice. Let's see.
I'm going to spend the CP to re-roll from that 7. So we'll spend that CP.
Did you just change your dice?
I did.
That's okay. Go on.
No, you're not happy with that. I can roll the same ones if you want.
No.
So we're looking for a 9, and we didn't get it. So that's a fail. So now the only thing to do, smug, is we'll declare Felthius. Well, he's not Felthius. We'll declare the Lord of Contagion, see if at least I can get him in.
Okay, you're going to go with him, just on his own?
Well, He might as well. He can't just
Okay.
stand there.
Let's see. And he gets an 8, so
he's
one
out.
off.
Okay, so moving over here.
This is the scary part. John's Death Shroud Terminators.
Yeah, well, that was supposed to be scary too. So we'll do the Death Shroud, and we're going to go into this unit here, I think.
Okay, cool.
So
which are my intercessors?
We need a 9 for those.
All right, let's see.
It's not going well, is it?
Well,
Let's see.
I think your luck will change now.
A 10.
And there we
They're
go.
in. And then we'll just roll to see if the Lord of Virulence can go with them. So another 10 would be very nice. No, he's going to just stand there and get killed probably.
So he won't get to buff them, I take it.
We'll see. I don't think so. I think the maths might just screw me
Cool.
there. But
So how are your feelings after that, John?
not great. But
I'm not trying to rub it in, sorry.
we'll see how the combat goes, and we'll recap after that.
And I'm trying not to be that smug because I'm probably going to end up eating my words very shortly. But
I hope so.
But yeah, we'll come back with the full end of John's turn review shortly. Hello, so you join us at the end of John's turn 2. John, what are your thoughts on how that went?
Well, shooting wise, it's a mixed bag really. We took out the Dreadnought. It took a lot to do it, but he is gone. But then, sadly, that was the only thing we took out in the shooting phase. They went out in the combat, didn't they? So everything's moved up again from turn 1. As you can see, the Blight Haulers are right up there. I've moved the Plague Marines. They're not really in cover, but they're under that shelter. Pretty much everything moved up or moved over this way to no effect. Like everything back here has been almost pointless. The Plague Mortar is the only thing that's really done me any favours, and the Blight Haulers taking the Dreadnought out. Obviously, I've moved up the Rhino, and then that was the combat. That was a charge that we didn't roll off for on camera. He made it in just to tie these guys up, and he's done the job and taken 2 wounds for his trouble. Unfortunately, as we saw, the Lord of Contagion and the Blight Lords are now just standing here, and there is a lot of yellow surrounding us. Also, my other Lord is just sort of stood here on his Todd, but we couldn't stand everybody there. Terminators have got in, and they've done a fairly decent job here. We'll see what happens during Tom's turn. Overall, I'm not too happy with how it's gone. The only thing I've got going for me is that the point is way down there. Get through Tom's next turn, and we'll see where that ends up when the points start coming into play. And then there was one mistake that we both forgot about. Obviously, I deep striked in. Tom's turned around and managed to take out 2 Terminators, but we actually forgot that the sun is behind it and never used that. Took the point away or added 1 to the hits, whatever it was. But that's a mistake. Hopefully, we won't forget again. I don't know, Tom, how are you feeling going into your next turn? I've not really done the damage I wanted to do.
Well, I've got a plan. I always say that, but it never usually comes off how I expect it to. But we'll see what happens. I'm happy that I didn't lose more than I thought I would lose at least twice as much, if I'm honest. Because if them guys got in there into these ones, I think that could have been game changing. But unfortunately they didn't for John. So we'll just see if I get any better luck or if I get the same luck as him. So join us for my turn shortly.
Yeah. And that is the end of turn 2 and the Imperial Fists turn 2. Tom, talk us through your round.
So I'm not going to lie, I thought it was going quite well at one point. I thought I had a lot of firepower. As you can see, quite a few of John's models are no longer on the table. Some of his big models, so I'm happy that a lot of the armour went. But once I got most of that off the table, the second half of my army pretty much failed with almost everything. So I'm about 70% happy with it. One thing I'm annoyed about is more with myself. I used too many CP on silly little things to save the odd Primaris Marine, which was a little bit of a waste of time. And I did also lose my my Judicia to John when he was fighting back with his Death Shroud. So this guy here is no longer kaput, dead, finished. So he's off the table. But all in all, I think it's quite even at the moment. I'm very happy. The one thing I'm happy about most is getting my Reavers in on a charge, taking out John's Pox Walkers. So he will need to try and wrest that point back from me now because there's more models on it. So that's the most important thing. But he is really close to it anyway on the other side. So that will be easy to do. But yeah. How do you think it went, John, for me and for you?
Well, I think it's your game to lose, to be honest, mate. Just looking at the yellow on the board compared to the green, I mean, I'm a Death Shroud down, another Blight Lord down, all that armour's gone. He's doing okay, but he's in combat, so his days are numbered. The Demon Prince, he's on 2 wounds. These guys here need to actually get involved and just do something. And my drones have done nothing the entire game, nor have these. The only thing I can really hope for now is winning this roll off and getting the
Of course, you can put
point.
the sun, can't you, where you want now?
Oh yeah. So I need to put the point somewhere where I want it, and I can move the sun to one side of the board or the other. So we'll have a think about how that's going to go. But we'll roll off then. We'll do a bit of a roll off, and we'll see where the objective's going to go. So hopefully I can move it further into my lines.
You can't win for a third time, surely, for that.
We can try. We can try. And right, let's roll off then. Let's see who's going to get the point.
Okay.
After you.
Oh, both got a 1. Really?
What's the odds?
Did you just try and hold my hand?
I did, yeah. And it's on camera. Right, let's go again. 4. Yeah, there we go.
Third time in a row.
Right, how far can I move it?
Oh my god.
So we're going to get 5 inches, and
I've done all that work to get them up there.
you have. So I'm going to get to move it 5 inches, and as long as I'm in control of it at the end of this command phase, I'm going to score a point. So I'll move it, and then during my next turn, I'm sure we'll show you where it is. So we are mid fight phase for the Death Guard. Quite a few charges have gone in. So before we get too lost in it, we'll just show you. We have the one chappie down here. What's he called, mate?
Reaver Sergeant.
The one Reaver Sergeant surviving. The cultists took out his mates, the Pox Walkers, and he can still fight shortly. Up here, the Demon Prince got in and killed the Librarian, and now he's waiting to take a beating back. The other fights we got here, so the Blade Guards managed to destroy the Rhino and outpoured 10 very handsome looking fellows ready to fight. These Plague Marines moved up against the Heavy Intercessors. So we're just waiting to see what happens here. And then down here, the Lord of Virulence and the Death Shroud have sort of cleaned house. And obviously this guy's got to fight back. So we're just waiting to see how Tom's revenge goes. But I thought we'd have a quick scoot around the table just to make it easier for the recap, which will be coming up in a few seconds.
Okay, so here we are at the end of John's turn 3. How do you think it went, John?
So the combat went the fight phase went much better than the shooting phase. Unfortunately, the Demon Prince is no longer with us, and nor is my last Blight Hauler. They did team up to take out the Librarian and one of the Blade Guard, but unfortunately, there's a lot of power left sat here. On the plus side, the point or the objective is pretty much secured. I've got the point for that. There's no enemy hanging around here, so I'm quite happy there. Again, like I said, these guys did nothing. My Plague Marines did their job, They've cleared out this group. However, now they're sort of sitting in the open with a lot of angry looking Imperial Fists staring at them. And then, as we know, the Blight Lords are just sort of standing there, taking in the view. And under here, the Lord of Virulence and the Death Shroud did their job and cleared out here. So, yeah, it's a bit worrying now because, Tom, it's your round 3 and there's still a lot of yellow on this board. All I can try and do now is cling on to this point and just hope that you can't take it off me.
Yeah, well, I think I need an extremely good round, just considering where the point's been for most of the game. So, well, fingers crossed, I shall see what I can do.
Good luck.
Join us soon for my turn.
So, you're joining us at the end of round 3. Tom, talk us through it, mate.
So, yeah, I've just finished my turn. It went pretty poor, to be honest. I mean, I still think there's a lot to fight for here. It's quite even still. As you can see, these are the main models that I took off. That sounds rude, but you know what I mean. So, all of the Plague Marines here, a Blight Lord Terminator and his Malignant Plague Caster.
That's the Warlord gone.
That's the Warlord gone. So, and then obviously I took off a large squad over here. There was, I don't know how many, maybe 12.
19.
Oh, there's a 19 in total. Yeah. Blimey. So 19 Pox Walkers, but I had to shoot about 500 bolter rounds out.
Yeah, a lot of rounds came in.
So I didn't actually get rid of too many points, but I have cleared at least quite a bit of a gap here. I obviously charged my Warlord in, Gerhard Thane himself, who took out the Malignant Plague Caster just after all these little bits and pieces saved him quite a lot. But now at least I'm on the point for the time being.
We'll see where it goes.
We'll see where it goes, yeah. But what do you think of the round, John? How did it go for you?
I think I'm just hoping that, again, I get lucky, or is it 4 times, and I can move the point.
Yeah,
but
if that happens, I'm done.
I'm pretty much surrounded. There's a tabling coming my way. The only thing we forgot to mention, I think, is the side that I'm standing on is where we moved the sun to.
Yeah, which I'm shooting a bit.
Yeah. And then I did lay down on my last command phase this Blight Bombardment. So,
which I paid no attention to. I had no choice because of them using the sun over this side. I had to get my models over this side of the table so I could shoot down this direction and not have a penalty to my hit.
But I mean, the amount of models there, it doesn't matter. And then just tucked up here, the Death Shroud and the Lord of Virulence. And then, I mean, the less said about them, the better. But yeah, we'll roll off again very shortly for who's going to get to move the objective. Okay, so for the objective move, let's roll off.
Oh,
you've both got a 2. This keeps happening. And again. Oh, I'll have to re-roll that. So 3 to beat.
Of course.
4. There we go.
4 in a row. That is a joke. 4 in a row.
And let's see how far do we get to move it.
5 again.
Nice. All right. Well.
Oh man.
Let's see what we can do. It's getting tricky though. It's getting tricky.
So guys, you join us at the end of John's turn 4. It is now about 5 o'clock in the morning. It seems like we've been playing all year. But John, would you like to talk us through what happened in your turn?
I can't really remember. Okay, so I got lucky again. I won the roll-off for moving the objective.
Oh, how many times have we run that roll-off?
Every single time.
Oh, 4 times in a row?
Yeah, every single time. So I managed to move it 5 inches into this corner here. Pox Walkers are on it, so I'm actually on 2 points now. Although I'm getting absolutely smashed everywhere else, I'm on 2 points. So I swarmed that. All my other units swarmed the Warlord on his bike here. We lost the Blightbringer, the noxious Blightbringer, unfortunately. He went down valiantly. We lost a bloat drone, and we lost one sad little cultist. Otherwise, that was fine. Everybody else got into combat. The Terminators have taken out the sniper unit. These guys finished off whoever was here.
Heavy Intercessors.
Heavy Intercessors. The ATV is gone. Obviously, this guy is sitting here looking mean, facing off with my bloat drone. And the only other thing of note is over here, the Blight bombardment went off. I think I put a mortal wound over here, killed one over there, and a mortal wound went on up here. Other than that, not a bad round, unfortunately. Just looking at this sea of yellow, I just need to hold off and keep this point. I think we'll finish this round definitely, and it'll probably be a case of rolling off to see where this goes, won't it?
Mm-hmm.
To see who can score the points, or if Tom can table me in this turn, which he could very well do. How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel okay. I mean, obviously, if we would have needed to get to the end of the game anyway, because whoever controls it, then you'd get the 2 points for. So we could never tell without finishing the game what would happen. But I do need to get at least 1 point very shortly to have had any chance. So we'll see what happens in the next round, or my next turn. Sorry, and that will probably be the last turn of the night. But we shall see.
I just want to leave. Let me leave.
I know it is 3K is long.
Yeah.
But join us again shortly, and I will talk you through what happens in my turn.
Okay, so you join us at the end of round 4, at the end of Tom's round 4. As you can see, sadly, it's a very yellow board. Tom, tell us what's happened, mate.
So I've tabled you this side where your point was, which I needed to do. Luckily, obviously you've still got your Terminators left here and here because they're just really difficult to shift. But I'm very happy with the way things have gone. Even if you win the next roll off, then that would only still go up to 12 inches, so I'd still be swarming all over it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's heading for a draw, but we will roll off just to see what happens anyway, and bring it to a bit of a conclusion.
Yeah.
But I think it's been a very, very close game, very well fought, big strategy so far. Yeah. But we're not quite ready to wrap it up. So yeah, as you can see, it's a very yellow board, but there's been mistakes made on both our sides, like always. Probably because our brains are turning to mush. Like an 8.5 hour, 9 hour game so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way that round went, just because I've got what I wanted, which was the point secure.
Yeah.
Well, not by my troops, but he's not on it. So yeah, all good with that.
Yeah. I think the only thing I can really do now, and I can't really do too much, is win this roll off, move the point 12 inches. I can't get anywhere near it, and I'm pretty sure that Tom's units can move. What can I do? That can do like 16 inches?
16 inches.
So
15 inches, 10 inches.
Regardless, it's a draw. We're not going to play round 5, but while we've got you, we'll do the roll off just to see for banter. Who?
If it would have been 5 in a row.
Yeah, so let's roll off to see who gets to move the objective. Oh, Tom, you've won. Where do you want to put it? Roll off.
So
You got to roll, mate.
Let's see, 2d6. So
you get to move it a nice 8 inches.
Let's see. Right, and I would have just plonked it bang in the middle of them.
Congratulations, you get 2 points if we made it to the end of your command phase, which we surely would. We'll call it a draw.
That is an equal draw. That would have literally been 3-3, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Obviously, I reckon if we played round 5, I'd probably get completely tabled. But
points wise, we still would have been even.
Yeah, it's bedtime.
Cool. Thank you for joining us, guys. Anyway, it's been a pleasure for you to see our first 3K match. It's not really been a pleasure for us because it took a little bit too long. So maybe a few more 2Ks in the future, maybe 1.5. But we enjoyed it nonetheless.
Yeah, it's a good experience. Yeah. So thanks for joining us. Obviously, we're Iron and Ceramite on all the social medias. Come check us out on YouTube, especially. Well, you will be because you're watching this. And please check out the podcast. Thank you very much.
And actually, just before we go, thank you very much. But also, who is your standout unit, do you think, in the game? Just before we leave, if you had to pick one who you think done the best throughout, what would you say?
I would say when they finally got into it, the Terminators, the Death Shroud Terminators,
these guys here,
and the Lord of Virulence. Actually, they're still alive.
They're deadly if you can get in with them.
I completely botched the Blight Lords. The charges didn't go off. No. And I will say the bloat drones made things very difficult for you. otherwise,
They was a pest, a nuisance, really.
Yeah.
But before that, they wasn't doing an awful lot. But you played them well,
yeah.
I think.
The triangle map layout did not benefit me at all. It narrowed me out too much. That's the issue. The only good thing was winning the roll off. But yeah, it was a good game. How about you? What was your standout man of the match?
It's difficult to pick because my army was very troops orientated, but I'd have to still give it to the Eradicators.
Yeah.
As boring as it sounds, because there's a couple of units that they just decimated, making sure that they couldn't tie any other of my units up or get on points, or the point. So they still, and because their toughness is 5 as well, so even when they drop down to contagion range or whatever, they've still got something about them to defend themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's always going to be them as long as Torgaradon's by their side.
Yeah.
Holding their hands through their gauntlets.
Yeah.
And a warrior's grasp, of course.
Yeah. But it was good. I'm sure once we've had some sleep and we can figure out what actually happened, we'll probably talk about it more on the podcast, won't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, but thanks for joining us and thanks for hosting, Tom. It was good.
No worries. See you later.
Bye.
As always, we would like to thank you for listening to our Iron and Ceramite podcast. If you liked us, then you can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and any other good podcast services. Just remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.